It was exactly 3 o'clock. You couldn't depend on its being exactly 3 o'clock just because the watch said so, but you could at least depend on its being somewhere near it. Anyhow, it was becoming apparent that Lila wasn't coming out on her terrace to sun herself. Nancy sighed and gave up hope. What she would do, she decided, was fix herself a tall, cold gin and tonic and go upstairs to the bedroom with the window unit. Maybe she would lie down and take a nap. Then, before she knew it, it would be 5 o'clock, and David would be home from high school, where he was working all day, even though it was Saturday. David was teaching corrective English in the summer session because they needed the extra money, and this was quite a sacrifice for him to make, because, according to David, nobody took corrective English but blockheads. He was often quite cross when he came home, and it required the most careful application of gin and tenderness, in the right proportions, to get him in a good humor again. Having decided what to do, Nancy rose and automatically tugged at her shorts, which had stuck to her thighs. She dropped ice cubes into a tall glass and filled the glass with gin and quinine water. Then she went out into the little hall and upstairs to the bedroom. It was cool in the room, a sharp change from the rest of the house, and she became aware, really for the first time, how clammy her blouse and shorts were. She would simply have to take a shower. So she set the glass on a table beside the bed, got out of her shorts and blouse, and pattered to the bathroom. She lingered under a warm shower, then took a quick cold one, wriggling with pleasure, under the needle spray. Back in the bedroom, Nancy inspected herself in the full-length mirror on the back of the closet door. She was pleased with what she saw. It was certainly not inferior to anything Lila Connor would have seen in the same circumstances. She thought, smiling, that the two lighter bands above and below looked positively obscene. It was a shame that there was nowhere to lie naked in the sun in privacy. It was a necessary concession to neighborhood opinion even to wear modified bikinis instead of extreme ones. May Walters, for example, did not approve of bikinis at all, especially when her Stanley was around. May had said more than once in the hearing of Nancy and Lila that she considered a clear white skin to be much more attractive than skin burned by the sun. Moreover, according to May, the sun dried out the natural oils and caused premature wrinkles. Nancy smiled again at her unwrinkled image. Feeling cool and clean, she went over to the bed and sat on the edge and picked up her glass. She drank the gin and tonic slowly, thinking with anticipation of the evening ahead. Jack and Vera Richmond were having a backyard barbecue, to which the Howells and the Connors and the Walterses were invited, and that meant she would not have to fix dinner in a hot kitchen, or painfully weigh assets against expenses with David, to see if they could possibly afford dinner out. The Richmonds lived in a stone ranch style to the other side of the Connors. Jack Richmond was a doctor, which was even more profitable than accountancy. But Jack and Vera were unpretentious and good mixers, at ease with everyone. They were perhaps 10 years older than the Howells and the Walterses and the Connors, who had all voted nationally at least once, but not more than twice. The gin and tonic had moved by swallows from the tall glass to Nancy's stomach, where it was beginning to glow. She deposited the glass on the bedside table and threw herself down on the bed. She began to wish that David would come home. But he had said 5 o'clock, and it was now only about 3:30. An hour and a half was a long time for a girl to lie on her back wishing for her husband, Nancy thought drowsily. And the next thing she knew, her eyes flew open and there he was, on the edge of the bed, contemplating her navel. She sat up and put her arms around his neck, and the situation immediately became fraught with possibilities. "Darling," Nancy breathed in David's ear. "Here you are at last." "Here, as a matter of fact," he said, stroking her back. "We both are." "Have you had a good day?" "No. My day has been hellishly hot. Also frustrating." "How frustrating? You don't have classes on Saturday." but I have...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.